Good morning to all of you from the North Cap University, and
Morning, sir.
welcome to the North Cap Masterclass, a series of talks wherein you get to listen to thinkers, scholars, and leaders sharing their perspectives on what's going on in the world and what it means for you as future professionals. And as I always tell you, the power of a great university is its people. University is the only place known to mankind that can powerfully change a person for the better. Good universities simply attract the finest students and faculty, and the North Cap University over the last 25 years has been indeed such a place, a natural playground of talented students and faculty. Our graduates are welcomed in leading global companies and by the top universities abroad. And this is for one reason and one reason only. At NCU, we are about future. We talk about future. Just look at all the specializations we offer in engineering, management, and law. And from artificial intelligence, augmented virtual reality, cybersecurity, cloud computing, to business analytics, digital marketing, and latest trends in law and jurisprudence, we cover it all. We work to offer degrees that will matter in future, and that makes us a top university. The same intent also drives our recent collaboration with Arizona State University, the leading American university. Our partnership is exclusive, the first of its kind in India in terms of coverage, breadth, and depth, all designed to give you a degree that will be valued for the rest of your working life. I want to begin by sharing some facts with you. You might remember that earlier speakers in the series told you that we are a young country with a large young population, the so-called demographic windfall. But are we creating enough jobs for our young people? Every other month, we hear of people agitating for job reservations, Gujjars, Marathas, Jats, and so on. So question is, where are these jobs going to come from? If you look at national census data, since 1991, the population has grown by 65%. But the total jobs in government and public sectors have actually continuously declined since 1991 at about 0.8% per year. Get that. Government is actually reducing its jobs on a net basis. And if my calculations are correct, after 2006, India has seen what the economists call the jobless growth. More people have entered in the workforce and enough jobs have not been created. Neither the government nor the organized industry are creating enough jobs to cater to the young population. So what is happening? Today, the entrepreneurs and startups are creating jobs. That is why Prime Minister Modi is talking about Startup India, setting up National Skills Development Corporation, etc. Now, we all remember that his comment about making and selling pakodas drew criticism, but I think that is grossly unfair. The message is be an entrepreneur and create jobs for others. This is the reason NCU has a center for entrepreneurship and incubation. And today you're going to hear from someone who looks at this problem and the thinking that must go into it. Let me introduce Mr. Jayashilan. Mr. Jayashilan Ganeshan is an entrepreneurial champion, an engineer from IIT Kanpur and an MBA from IIM Calcutta. As head entrepreneurship development services, he advises large corporations in the areas of business incubation, lean processes, occupational health, and environment. He's a certified international practitioner in whole brain thinking tools for self and for corporates, such as appreciative inquiry, shadow gifts, and 6 hats of thinking. He is much sought after by corporations and universities for mentoring entrepreneurs. Today, he is going to speak on the topic entrepreneurship, an occupation or an attitude. I'm sure what he has to say will wake up the sleeping unicorns in all of you. Welcome to the Norcap University, Mr. Jayashilan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, and very good morning, sir. And thank you so much for your introduction. And you have really touched upon the relevance of entrepreneurship in the contemporary scenario. It's really fantastic. And I'm very eager to deliver my session to the young minds so that they can look at entrepreneurial opportunities which are in existence, prevalently given the circumstances today. And I'm extremely grateful at the outset to Mr. Avdesh and Mr. Shiv Mehra for their, a spontaneous interaction with me when I spoke to them. And they said, why don't you speak on entrepreneurship? And that's how I took it. In fact, Northcap University, I am so much attached to this university, both emotionally and academically. When I was there with the university, it was transforming into university. I was there with the Department of Management and the educators, the educating community, the founders of this university or the real change agents, and they are trying to look at the scenario of education in the contemporary scene, given the opportunities that is available under the sun today. No, I am extremely grateful once again to the team and everyone, and I'm thankful to Professor Milind for giving me an introduction, for making an introduction about me. So with this brief, I'll straight away proceed. I am going to share my screen, my dear students. This is about entrepreneurship, an occupation or an attitude. This is a question of gravity, density, and intense in the context that, given the scenario, an entrepreneurship can be an occupation. Primarily because the kind of opportunities that exist in the environment today is to literally set a sense of entrepreneurial mindset in the young minds. When you look at occupation as such, it's generally someone who is engaged in a particular area of activity or a business routinely, generally for the sake of living. That's how we look at occupation. And how do we look at occupation? Let's take the brief introduction given by Professor Milind. The jobs are going away now. The jobs which are available from the private sector, from the public sector is going away now. There are less jobs as per statistics. But the alternative, which is so fruitful, which is so fantastic, which is so wonderful, is available to you young minds. You can create job. You can create job. How do you create job? That's the tool of entrepreneurship. That's where we place our relevance on entrepreneurship. Now, the point is, how do you look at it as an attitude? And the attitude, as you all know, basically it's the way we see things. It's all inducted by the self as well as by others. It's a very complex phenomenon. Nonetheless, can we develop an attitude towards entrepreneurship? Therefore, in the context of looking at entrepreneurship as an occupation or as an attitude is phenomenally superb for discussion today, given the context that entrepreneurial opportunities exist in plenty in the economy today. As Professor Milind said, the kind of government support system which are all coming up. Now, let's look at the gravity of this subject today, the density of the subject today, the intensity of the subject today, one by one, through my slide. Now, my dear students, now I'm going to listen to me very carefully. I'm going to talk to you about an enterprise. What is an enterprise? Previously, the micro, small, and medium enterprises was defined as an industry, but that particular concept industry generally connotates a manufacturing concept. Now, in 2006, we have changed the definition. We call it as an enterprise because enterprise covers two entities. One is a manufacturing, the other one is service. So from an enterprise, you can think of two different outputs. One is manufacturing, the other one is service. Therefore, if you look at this enterprise in an input-output model, my dear students, I would like you to look at this input model in terms of certain resources that are being injected into this input, and you get an output. Listen to me very carefully. Now, this output, as I said, two kinds of output. That is a manufactured physical output. The other one is a service output. Manufactured output, as you all know, right, from ship, aircraft to a pin, to a chalk piece, manufactured. And services enterprise, you all know, North Cap University provides educational service, mosque, mandir, church, IT services, they all provide services. So therefore, the output in terms of the physical product and services, given its other requirements like right price, right quality, customer delight, demand, satisfaction, given all those things, what are the inputs? Let us critically look at the inputs that are being injected into the organization. That has to be precisely made clear. Dear students, look at those inputs. As you all know, the inputs for an enterprise, look, for example, let me take a manufacturing enterprise. Many of you would like to, probably would be aware, we call it 6M. Machine, material, methodology, money, minute. Minute is the time. And another resource, I would put it as women and men, men and women. That is the M, sixth, men and women. We call them as human resources. But the point is, if these resources are injected into this machine, into this input-output model of an enterprise, these are the injected inputs. And what do you think is the most, probably the relevant, important resource? Can anyone put me on a chat? What do you think the most important resource? Can anyone come up on the chat, please? Any student? Phenomenon work next time. Yes. Anybody else? Well, yes, carry on. I'm happy. Workforce, fantastic. Yes. Idea, fantastic. Yes. Knowledge and skill. Leadership, oh, phenomenal. I'm happy. As Professor Milind said the percentage which is active. Fantastic. Thank you for your continued word. Now listen to me very carefully. Now the point is, in this, what is this? In this, the most important resource, as you all said, in my opinion, in everybody's opinion, is the human resource. The point is like this: given all the resources, machinery, methodology, money, minute, everything is phenomenally superb, available at the best of its quality and readiness. But who is going to use all these resources? Who is going to use all these resources? It's nothing but you and me. It is nothing but you and me. And who is this you and me? This you and me is made up of physical health, mental health, and the emotional health. Imagine all the resources other than these resources are fantastically superb. If this human resource who is going to deploy these resources is not at the best of its competence, is not at the best of its emotional health, is not the best of its physical health, is not the best of its otherwise skills and capabilities, can that organization do well? It cannot. And therefore, the point is, and I'll go one step further, my dear friends, I would not like to call it as human resources, because the word resource essentially means it gets depleted. On the other hand, human resource gets its competence enhanced, enriched, superbly gets developed over a period of time, apart from age and other parameters that go into play in concluding the life, nonetheless and nevertheless, my dear students, I would like to call it not as a human resource, but as a human possibility. Human possibility. You know why? That's the power of human resource. Because this is the human possibility that changes the entire circumstances, that apply its competences, that effectively uses emotional effectiveness. It effectively brings in all kinds of inputs into the system to make it phenomenally superb. That's where I would love to call this human resource as a human possibility. And imagine this human possibility has to put in a price. One can think of the kind of qualities, characteristic, competencies that are contemplated of an. Therefore, essentially, my point of bringing this input out model is to tell you that you and I are responsible to run an industry, and we take the complete accountability to ensure that enterprise changes, converts, moves, goes up in the ladder and phenomenally grow into a great organization. That's the responsibility of the human being involved. Why? In your personal life, you are the creator. You are the person who is going to develop the entire what is around you. Now, given this, let me go to an important. In the context of entrepreneurship, for that matter, for anyone, there are two actors primarily playing the role. It is the self and environment. And environment, see, imagine an infant who is born. What is the environment for that environment? The entire world around is the environment. For that infant, the world is the mother is around there, the father, the people who are there, and whatever it can touch, that's the environment. So environment by itself is a global phenomenon. So therefore, self, you, we, and the environment are primarily the two actors. For that matter, anywhere we put this concept, it is a global concept. We have come into this world as self, and we have to face the environment. Now let's look at the environment in the context of entrepreneurship. In the context of entrepreneurship, that's the denominator with which I am going to dwell on. The purpose of today's session is to sow a seed of thought in every one of you, irrespective of whatever the discipline in which you are engaged, in a phenomenal university like North Cap University. That's the intention today for me. My dear friends, keep listening to me and respond to me. Now, when I talk of self, see, there will be a lot of soft components involved because the entire scenario is entrepreneurship orientation, attitudinal orientation towards entrepreneurship. Now, who is in the context of entrepreneurship? We can ask a philosophical question. I am not dwelling here on philosophy, religion, but I am just going to ask the self. Self essentially consists of knowledge, skill, attitude in the context of competence. What is knowledge? Knowledge is nothing but information. You collect information and retain information. But what is skill? Skill is the ability to transform that knowledge for a productive and a positive use. Otherwise, that knowledge is of absolutely no use. We are not interested in walking encyclopedias. We would like people with knowledge need to transfer that knowledge onto a definite, useful, productive purpose. Of course, useful. There are people who use it negatively. That's not the connotation here. The point is, skill is the ability to deploy the knowledge for an effective, useful purpose. That's where the ability of skill comes in. If I am a graduate of, say, for example, Bachelor of Commerce, right? I know about bringing about a balance sheet of a company. When I go and work in a company and see the actual position and study the position and convert those inputs into an actual balance sheet and develop it into a component, that knowledge, what I have gained, is useful for me. Otherwise, it's of no use. Remember very carefully, knowledge is information. All the five senses provide information. And therefore, attitude reflects the way we think and it's based on an act, based on self and others determine attitude. This attitude is a huge component. One can talk about it for hours together. It's a complex phenomenon. To put it simply, it's developed right from the childhood. Just to give you an example, a newborn child, when it is a 10-month-old child, I must keep watch of my minutes. A 10-month-old child, if you put it on in a hall, that will not know and will go and even touch, insert its finger on a socket, which is a current delivering socket, because it does not know. That's how we say the children have 98% potential. But when we grow, this 98 potential comes down to 30 potential. It's primarily because a lot of do's and don'ts and the paradigm that come in. And that's a different. The point is, attitude is developed over a period of time. That's why there is a lot of books on attitudes and this and that. So therefore, essentially, knowledge, skill, and attitude constitute competency. Competency is going to determine your growth, and it can be developed, and that you are going to compete with each other, and that's going to edge you out in several places in terms of a notch higher. Now let's look at an entrepreneur, because I have got several slides. Hope I quickly go through these slides. The entrepreneur, who is an entrepreneur? My dear students, can you just think about it? Anyway, if you're all of you are, many of you must know about it, but let me fantastic. A lot of chats I am seeing. Great. Now, the entrepreneur is one. Listen to me very carefully. Let me put the definition as Professor Jayasilan, as I see it. An entrepreneur is one who has a business idea, converts that business idea into a business process for a resultant product or service, but takes the responsibility of the consequence of the decision he or she has taken to run the business. By now you would have got it. I repeat, an entrepreneur is one who has a business idea, converts that business idea into a business process for a resultant product or service, but takes the responsibility of the consequence of the decision he has taken to run the business. This is precisely what is, in essence, entrepreneur is. You look at the first component, every sentence, every word is loaded word here. An entrepreneur has a business idea. Here I would like to bring in, what is the difference between an entrepreneur and an innovator? What is the difference between an entrepreneur and innovator? Can anyone? What is the difference between an entrepreneur and innovator? Yes, entrepreneur who sets business, fine. Yes, entrepreneur is one who sets up the business. And innovator is the one who creates perhaps new ideas. Then we can think of creativity, innovate. I can go on, but it will take time. Innovator can be an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur need not be an innovator. This is what, as I was mentioning, Mr. Infosys chairman was in one of the discussions. He was clearly making a, beautifully differentiating these two in a wide formation. But to put it precisely, an entrepreneur, an innovator can be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur need not be an innovator, because he can pick up any idea from anywhere and convert into a business. But let me tell you, my dear friends, my dear students, the job of entrepreneur is powerfully intense, powerfully complicated. It's a complex process. As I told in my definition, in my way of looking at entrepreneur, an entrepreneur is one who has a business idea. For example, Thomas Alva Edison, he has invented bulb. Who manufactured bulb? Somebody else manufactured bulb, isn't it? An idea converted into a business process. Now this business process is a powerfully loaded word, my dear friends. Dear student, listen to me very carefully. What is a business process? The business process consists of all of you who are engaged in different disciplines, right? Isn't it? Every sector. Take, for example, a small-scale manufacturer manufacturing a fan. He has to procure the material A small scale manufacturer producing 50 ceiling fan. He has to procure the raw material. He has to ensure the quality of the material. He has to store the raw material. He has to supply it to the workshop where people are working on it. People have to add value to it. Then quality has to be checked. Then this has to be moved on for further assembling it. Then it has to go for then it has to go for selling. There is a lot of marketing that is involved. There is a lot of selling that is involved. There is an amount of finance that is involved. The seller, the small and scale industry representative, the fellow who is running it, has to liaise with the banker for his working capital. He has to market. He has to sell. He has to organize for raw material. He has to handle the human relations. He has to handle the workers. He has to upgrade their skill. There is a technology involved. So imagine the entire business process, which we call the value chain. This is the entire value chain. Mind you, my dear students, every one of you are involved. Corporate, there is a legal person who is looking after the legal provisions of procurement, starting out the human relations problem. Engineers are involved in various sectors, and other routine, the graduates are involved in various positions, human resources, training and development, recruitment. Entire activity is involved in that so-called business process. Now, and this great business process delivers the product, service, and this. And imagine an entrepreneur, a small-scale entrepreneur sets up the business. Everybody begins with a small-scale business. In fact, a top-class business which have started from a garage. You all know the Baikan, the Mazumdar Shah, for that matter, Infosys, for that matter, many started with everything started with a small enterprise. Everything started with a small enterprise. And imagine that small-scale entrepreneur who has to deliver the kind of qualities, competencies, characteristics that are called upon on this entrepreneur to carry on with that enterprise, which single-handedly has to do it for at least 1 to 2 years to stabilize his enterprise. That is the power of an entrepreneur. That's the beauty of an entrepreneur. That's the power of an entrepreneur. Therefore, the qualities, competencies, the characteristics that are contemplated of an entrepreneur, you can imagine. That's where I said, entrepreneur is a business idea, convert that business idea into a business process for a resultant product or service, but takes the responsibility of the consequence of the decision he has taken to run the business. It essentially means he takes the risk. What is the risk? The risk here, deliberately I'm saying the risk is either he gets into a profit mode or a loss mode. He takes the responsibility. Apart from several other risks that are involved, the kind of stress he goes through, the kind of emotional disturbances he goes through, then you can imagine the kind of quality, the personality that goes into being an entrepreneur. That's the power of an entrepreneur. That's the beauty of an entrepreneur. That's the greatness of the entrepreneur. That's the quality of an entrepreneur. That's the entrepreneurs who takes the country forward. Micro, small, and medium enterprises are the backbone of the industry, my dear students. Everything begins, entrepreneurship begins with this process. I'm sure my idea today to every one of you, irrespective of whatever position, think of an entrepreneurial. We'll talk about it a little more. Now, let's come to the concept of many of you know about motivation, and there are some chats which I would like to just see, and bear with me if I exceed my on take risk or business generator, employers phenomenally well, entrepreneur is an employee. Well, I'm coming to that entrepreneur, my dear friends. I'm coming to that. Fantastic chat. Great. Now, let me just put to you, because what is that drives an entrepreneur? What is that drives an entrepreneur? It's primarily the motivation. And just to give you, all of you must be reading about motivation. A lot of you are soft skill specialists are there with you today. But nonetheless, let me put it this way. A motivation refers to the way in which urges, drives, desires, aspirations, strivings, or needs which direct, controlled, and explain the behavior of human beings. Keep this in mind. I am talking about that urge, the innovative urge. We'll come to that a little more. Now, I am going to talk about this important area, self and goal. Imagine I am the self. I have a goal to achieve. The goal is generally picked up in the concept. Generally, many of you would have read about the goal setting. It is called SMART. Smart way of setting goal. That is, S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for realistic, and T for time driven. All these dimensions are involved in setting a goal. Imagine you set a goal to achieve given all these concept of SMART. But mind you, my dear friends, whenever an goal is set for a self, there are two kinds of obstacles that are faced. Those are blocks. We call those blocks one which comes from within the self, and the other blocks are from outside. What does it mean? So imagine you want to set up an enterprise. Imagine, for that matter, you have become an MBA, you want to join a corporate sector. So you would face, and obstacles could be from within, or the blocks are from within, from outside. When I say within, it is the internal blocks of lack of self-motivation, lack of self-confidence, lack of competence, lack of the attitude, lack of emotional competence, what have you. But the blocks from outside could be resources are not available, the legal systems or provisions in the sector is not conducive for me to start. There are infrastructure facilities are not available. There are a lot of funds issues. There are technological issues. All these could be from outside. But generally it is said, if an entrepreneur has a drive or a passion, he somehow manages to overcome the outside block, but majority he will not be able to overcome if the blocks are within, and therefore the entrepreneurs have to develop the qualities and characteristics and competencies. This is where I would like to bring in a point of very important point. That's what's called an entrepreneur is born or made. Who believes that entrepreneur is born? Who believes that entrepreneur is made? Let me go on a chat. Please, my dear students. Who believes? Can anyone to take this on? Who believes an entrepreneur? Yes, Amazon also started like that. Okay. Made, they are made. Anyone who wants to say that they are born? Anyway, if you, anyone, they are made, they are made, they are made. Fantastic, fantastic. You guys are with me. And if you really ask me, I would not like to look at this question for the simple sake, part of the question, entrepreneurs or Ben, I would not like to look at it because demonstrated evidences are there in the universe today, in the global phenomenon today, in the Indian context. People have demonstrated setting up enterprises, given the kind of opportunities that the environment has thrown up. And therefore, all my students from the North Cap University can always look at the dimension of starting an enterprise. What's wrong? What's wrong about it? So therefore, essentially what happens is the blocks that come up from within. That's why the courses like entrepreneurship, to bring in abilities, competencies, they are continuously given to the children, given to the students, so that they emancipate themselves with a sense of great feeling to start, an urge to start an enterprise. You know, the beauty of starting an enterprise. I don't have to tell you anything about it. You know, you become the owner of your own organization. What a great satisfaction you get. You contribute to the economy. Phenomenal, superb. What else? There are many, many. Importantly, my dear students, you are eliminating the unemployment. The reason is you get employed yourself, and you also provide employment if it's a small scale industry, one or two few employments, isn't it? What a great contribution to the economy. A country like ours, where people are struggling, that's how the skill and the kind of skill development. I was involved in those kind of developments way back in 2005, 7, 5 and all, when the skill development were coming up. And the point is, I also conceived a concept called livelihood business incubation, which we set up in Government Time Meghalaya and manywhere, where we create livelihood business enterprises for those dropout children from the school, from colleges. We give them opportunities through this livelihood. What a great way of the employment. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. That's the power of entrepreneurship. That is the great denominator in the kind of happiness you take when it comes to taking. That's how in Maslow's hierarchical form, I would like to pull it the self-realization. You have realized a great, no, that's how. Anyway, given the concept of self and goal, if you have achieved these kind of obstacles, which we come, that's how we overcome. And when it comes to the outside problem, there are a lot of, when I talk of entrepreneurship, I mean how environment, I'll tell you what are the supports available from outside, for what kind of issues that an entrepreneur faces. Therefore, need to take help is an important point of concern. Now, let me go to the next slide. Oh, now I am coming to a very, very important topic of achievement motivation. This is the concept developed by David Mackland, who has worked. I have undergone the achievement motivation programs and kind of certifications, which we regularly do in National Institute of Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development in Noida. Now, this achievement motivation, listen to this definition very carefully. An achievement motivation is the predisposition or an inclination of an individual. You see, the attitude component effectively plays a role. It does not come just like that, my dear friends. You've got to develop that attitude. That's what we do as an entrepreneurship development coaches. And I don't know, here, interestingly, I would like to ask you all a very important question. You all must be having a doubt in the mind. I talk about entrepreneurship. You must be getting your mind as to, who is this guy talking about entrepreneurship? Has he ever done entrepreneurship? Has he ever opened an enterprise? My dear friends, my dear students, I want to tell you, yes. After I have done my MBA from IIM Calcutta, I thought I would like to put up an enterprise. I wanted to set up a paper manufacturing industry way back in 91. And it was a bit larger industry because some friends were there to support me in funding. It was a 350 lakh output. Paper manufacturing needs a lot of water. So we picked up a good field area where a lot of water is available. I created a project report, 350 lakhs, where 150 was the equity component, and the rest was 450 lakhs, sorry, 300 was from debt component from Tamil Nadu. I put up the project was cleared, and this 150 lakhs, which I was embarking upon, my friends who were in abroad and all, they tried to support me. But my dear friends, with all these things done and project cleared, I got to abandon the project for the simple reason that 80 lakhs, which one of my friends who were to put up with had to walk away. Then I could have done it with a persuasion from somebody, but time was running out, so I had to abandon the project. Therefore, in my sense, I would like to call myself as a failed entrepreneur. At the same time, I got an authority to talk on entrepreneurship for the simple reason I know at least 1 or 2 ways in which an enterprise fails. But nonetheless, the experience which I've gained in National Small Industries Corporation and entrepreneurship over a period of time is phenomenally superb, which I carried forward, and I have done a lot of help in creating enterprises. That's how after 2010 onwards, I have been a consultant, an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship development services. Therefore, I have the fundamentals at my place to talk to you, and therefore, please bear with me. So achievement motivation is the predisposition or inclination of an individual to accomplish something important and unique in a competitive situation. Look at the powerful words here. Competitive situation. It's quite easy in a comfort zone to pass through a comfort zone with your brilliance, but it's extremely difficult to pass through with your intelligence and competence, what have you, on a competitive scenario. And therefore, you have to be someone who is extraordinarily brilliant. That's where the achievement motivation steps in. This achievement motivation gets converted into what is called entrepreneurial motivation. I would like to dwell more on achievement motivation because this is acceptable to be, even for a person who wants to get into a job, he has to be achievement motivation driven person. That's what it is. Now, let me go to the next cluttered slide. Please bear with me. The significance of achievement motivation primarily looks at, there are certain empirical evidences that is important in achievement. You see, achievement-driven motivation drives such personalities responsible for economic growth as well as decline of a nation. Obviously, if you look at the country today, the country has grown from Stone Age to today. It is because of the productive mind, because of the constructive mind. You can think of two extremes of mind. On the one side, the destructive mind, the other side, the constructive mind. The way in which the economic growth has come up, it is precisely because if it does not come up, there is a decline. As Professor Milind said, the decline, when the jobs are declining, entrepreneurship is setting in to push the economic growth, my dear friends. Now, essential ingredient of entrepreneurship leading to economic development. As I told you, as a specialist from enterprise development, especially on SME development from a government of Ministry of MSME, Ministry of the Micro and Medium Enterprise, or the backbone of any economy next to agriculture. And therefore, essentially, these need to be given a flip, needs to be given a lot of support. And that's where the entrepreneurial role comes into picture. And that's more important in an economy like this, where we carry the demographic dividends of more than 60% of the population is below the age of 25%. What do we do with that young population? We have got to reach the top level of it. That's where the entrepreneurship and economy comes into play. One of the most important characteristics of entrepreneur, you have got to be driven by achievement motivation. I see achievement motivation, my dear friends, by itself is a one-day session. A psychological characteristic in nature and manipulated, this is what we do, a concept called thematic perception test, when we want to literally make it manipulative in an individual to develop the characteristic through a model of thematic. That's a one-day workshop altogether, which we do it in a phenomenally successfully. Then it is found to be significant for, this is the point I would like my dear students to embark upon right now, found to be significant for business managers, executives, and salesmen. What is it saying about? What is it saying about? It is, so far we are talking about the entrepreneurs, but it is essential for each one of you who are going to become executives, business managers in different positions, because you are going to be driven by achievement motivation. I'll come to the concept which supports you at a later slide. Now, this is viewed as an intervention for organization development. We do it superb, phenomenally as an intervention. So I'm quickly going through because we have to on this dimension much more. Now, let me talk to you, because I want to talk to you a bit more on the concept of achievement motivation and characteristic. See, there are entrepreneurial, other dimensions are there, plenty, but I am deliberately working on this achievement motivation because that drives the entrepreneur. But that does not mean, do you think it is required only for an entrepreneur? That's what in the later slide, the earlier slide I told you. It's required for every one of us, as a business, as a husband, as a wife, as a son, wherever you are. Now, what likes to show responsibility, my dear friends, the phenomenal effort of taking responsibility. She or she doesn't shy away from taking responsibility. This is the next point, is very powerful in the context of entrepreneurship, likes to take moderate risks. I want to dwell upon this a little bit more. Did I do this or did I miss this? Hello? More risk. Now, listen to me very carefully. What is risk? Anyone can tell me what is risk? Any chat on this, on risk? Yeah, Dhirubhai Ambani was born with entrepreneur. Yes, I agree. Probably I did not. So to briefly talk about this, I agree. born with entrepreneur. There are a lot of people, but I want to make one very important point very clear, since some chat has come up. If you say that somebody is born with an entrepreneurial quality, look at this. Look at the way I am trying to put it across. Imagine someone who was in the game of entrepreneurship years together. They are decades and decades, and they've been in business. For example, Tata's are in. But I want you to think, my dear students, but somewhere at some point of time, his grandfather or that great grandfather must have had a thought of opening an enterprise. And therefore, I believe strongly that thought has to come in to create an enterprise. Therefore, irrespective of you are born with the qualities or not, I have to touch upon Carl Jung's theory of human behavior, and which talks about iceberg theory, which talks about the belief system. The belief system is responsible to create an attitude and behavior. So that's why a lot of people book you would have read. If you can change your belief, you can do many things. So that's what it's all about. But that's all time taking, and if I have to digress, it takes much of the time. But the point is, I agree with you, the born entrepreneur. But the point is, even that born entrepreneur at some point of time, great grandfather had a thought sowed in him that why not I start an enterprise? Therefore, it begins with the thought of creating an enterprise, and that has come up over a period. That's the explanation which I want to give you. But nonetheless, let me talk about likes to take moderate risk. What do you mean by risk, my dear friends? Can anyone tell me what is risk? What is risk? Have you taken risk in life? What kind of risk you are taking? What's the kind of risk you are taking? What is that risk is all about? So I deliberately would like to dwell on this for 2-3 minutes. What is risk? Taking a chance, a startup with thoughts that would succeed or would lose all the things, okay? Chance, okay? A situation which involves danger, fantastically said. Superb situation, extreme, yes. Going to exam before preparation, that's a chance. That's a kind of casual approach. Coming out of comfort zone, fantastic, well said. Coming out of comfort, well said. Good. My students are all up to the mark. Anyway, let me move on to the thanks for contribution. Now, a risk can be probably put on a scale of 0 risk and high risk. Somebody said the high risk. The 0 risk and high risk is what? Simply put it in a prudent way, jumping into probably a pool of water or a depth without knowing the depth, without knowing the swimming and the depth. That's the risk of danger. And the 0 risk is don't care. That is just on the comfort zone. But there is something called calculated risk. Calculated risk. Entrepreneurs calculated risk. But what prevents you to take not calculated risk, my dear children? What prevents you not to take calculated risk? Why are you in the comfort zone all the time? Sorry, I am not meaning you. You have got to come out of the comfort zone. When you come out of the uncomfortable zone, there your creativity, your innovation, and all those come into play. And all those competence do come into play for the simple reason that takes you to the creates out of every one of you. I would like you to come out of the comfort zone and dwell through the ability to take moderate risk. Moderate risk is nothing but the calculated risk. In the entrepreneurial situation, we conduct various games to establish the risk-taking ability of an individual. We conduct a simple ring toss game and other things. There is a component called hope for success or fear of failure. So a moderate risk taker has a high hope for success because he has taken a calculated risk. But the guy on a comfort zone always looks at fear of failure. Like that, we look at many components. The point I am trying to drive across is risk-taking ability is one of the important characteristic of a person with high need of achievement. Okay, tends to persist in the face of adversity. Adversity is obvious in the circumstances. The environment keep posing adversity. Adversity. Are you in a position to face? Adversity is nothing but a challenge, my dear friends. Adversity poses challenge. My dear children, what's a challenge? Challenge is nothing but it checks on your competence, as simple as that. An examination poses a challenge. If you look at it as adversity, if you look at it as a challenge, it poses challenge. What do? You introspect yourself. What is that introspection? You try and look, am my strengths to handle this exam? Am I my competence or in full, or my competence are not there to handle the exam? Then I introspect and work on that competence to work on, oh, this mathematics subject, I have to work some more. I have to go to a tutor. I have to get into understanding more of this part of the examination, this part of the question. Then I have to enrich myself, strengthen myself. Where is my weak areas? Why not do I work on area? So I introspect myself and create a great strength in me to handle that challenge or adversity. And how do you do that? That's where the self comes into play. And my dear friend, self is a huge phenomenon. I can talk to you for days together on this. Now, next tends to be innovative. What is innovation? What is innovation? Can anyone tell me? What is innovation? What is innovation? What is innovation? Quick, quick, quick. Oh, said believing and leaving everything to God. Oh my God. Okay, that's you said. Something new, something inspiring, new ideas. Okay, creative, thinking differently. Good. Coming up with new. So what is the impact of innovation, my dear friends? Fine, I agree with you. Impact of innovation. What is the impact of innovation? What is that innovation takes place? What does it do? Why should you innovate? What is fundamental behind innovation? What is the fundamental? What is the funda? Basic. What is the basic for innovation? Okay. Innovation in nutshell, as I told you, finally it has to result in higher productivity. Productive is a huge phenomenon. I can take days together talk on productivity. What is in a simple term, let me put it this way. Innovation can be on the technological front. Innovation can be on the soft front also. You can innovate your behavior so that your friend appreciates you. Your friend can innovate his behavior so that you appreciate him. Innovation is a component which cuts across every domain. Innovation has to result in a productivity which is higher. In a simple form, in a technological form, imagine a process takes 10 hours to complete an activity. An innovative process takes only 4 hours to complete the activity using process. What does it mean? It simply means you've cut down the cost, you've reduced the operation and whatnot. That's innovation. You can innovate at every point of time. I keep innovating on my delivering sessions. Tomorrow I have a session in National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development, talking to participants from 25 countries on dynamics of entrepreneurial motivation. The way I am going to deliver there is going to be totally different. So the point I am trying to drive across is innovation is a sustained phenomenon. It's a built-in phenomenon. It has to be there in and out in every individual. A small book I have written, sorry, to make a mention, Seeing to Seeing. It's about seeing skills where just a sense of sight one can use for innovate. Anyway, there are many things in my cup of tea to talk about. Then usually demonstrate some interpersonal competence. This is usually, you must be, somebody should question. Yes, interpersonal competence is phenomenally superb. It's very important. Why usually demonstrate? What happens in achievement motivation is interpersonal competence is required, but if you're fully with internal competence, the affiliation motivation becomes more. In the process, you lose the focus on that. That's why he very clearly says, demonstrates it is required. Effective relations to get things done, mentoring people, supporting people, get the work done from people, these are all required. But it cannot be all the time more. But this is a very debatable point. Nonetheless, you keep it, you can go for a debate. Tolerance to ambiguity, as good as ambiguity is what? Lack of clarity. If you lose your balance when that clarity is lacking, I am telling you, you are not a person with achievement motivation. Given the ambiguity, you stand there and get the clarity and bring in the clarity and see the point there. Remove the fears, the veils of ambiguity and see the reality. That's what we talk about perceptions and what have you. Perception is a huge phenomenon and attitude is based on perception. Now, oriented towards future, another phenomenon. Tends to be mobile and adventurous. My dear friends, do you think it is required only for entrepreneurs? It's required for all of us, even if you're working in an organization. Now, in effect, we can characterize the person with high need of achievement. This need for achievement is We conduct a study on David Mclean's model and identify what is the level of achievement, the need achievement is there with any individual. I can do it for all you students. Probably when we get across, we will try and work on it. We can characterize the person with high need for achieving as a restless, energetic, striving person who seeks and enjoys challenges. My dear friends, I told you about challenges. I want to face challenge. I am ready to face challenge. I enjoy challenge because I keep introspecting on myself to handle the challenge. That's what is essential. Introspection, my dear friends. Every one of you start introspecting whenever your challenge poses at you. In your own academic session, if any of you find difficulty, consult me, come to me, I'll be your counselor. Now, for him, life is a reasonable adventure. Out of comfort zone, isn't it? Fantastic. What a way of looking at it. Now you see the caption, it is entrepreneurial motivation. So far we have talked about it. Now we are talking about, now we are really going to dwell into the role achievement plays. The first need for achievement, which I have been talking about. Whether it is an entrepreneur or you and me who are going to work in, anyone who is going to work for an organization, this is essential. There are three main components we study in an entrepreneur: need for achievement, need for power, need for affiliation. The need for achievement is one's desire to achieve standards of excellence. My dear friends, please understand, standard of excellence. Standard of excellence is something which is in a performance related situation. Let me give you a very simple example of this, how to achieve standard of excellence. This is students, you are going to be benefited. Listen to me very carefully with apt attention. Imagine a father as a boy who is studying 9th standard. His son is getting only 50 or 60% academically. Now, if the father sets a standard of excellence of 95% for him, it is going to be extremely difficult for that boy to achieve 90% over a quick period of, in the 9th standard, to quick period by the time the final exam comes, because he has to move from 60 to 95. It is a huge performance driven task. The child will go mad, stressed, many things can happen. Here, as a consultant, I would like to set a standard of excellence for that child as a father from 60 to 70% and tell him, my dear son, work. Now I am setting a standard of excellence for, forget about 90%, work for 70%. You know what happens? That child will start working because 10% is its standard of excellence, which then he will develop all the attitudes and characteristics such a way we get manipulated in him. He easily moves to 70%. Then the father tells him, now go to 80%, now go to 90%. Thus the standard of excellence are set. Are you with me, my dear children, my dear friends? That's the beauty of standard of excellence. Setting standard of excellence is important. My dear students, set standards of excellence right now in every one of you. Right now, wherever you are capable of achieving the. If you want to crack something, a powerful competitive exam, set your standard of excellence right now and move to the top standard of excellence. And that's how you have got to work. Keep introspecting. That's how the need for achievement works. Then in entrepreneurial, there is something called need for power. It's very important. What is power? Desire to control or influence an ongoing situation. Top leaders are doing. North Cap University leaders are engaged all the time to see that the organization grows, the university grows. How do I influence in the growing design? There is a serious desire in them to grow. North Cap University has to reach a top-notch university. I know all the educators concerned there are seriously working on it. It's a fantastic. That's the power with the need of achievement. So that's important in the entrepreneurial. I'm not going much into this. So then need for affiliation. Affiliation, the word itself is very clear. Affiliation is what? Moving best with people, best interpersonal relation, understands others' emotions, understands other issues, problems, empathy, sympathy, all those dimensions. We talk on this on whole brain thinking very heavily, but nonetheless, all these three dimensions are very important when it comes to entrepreneur. Primarily, need for achievement is the major role played in the entrepreneurial motivation. Now, let me summarize this. Entrepreneurial motivation, in essence, should be viewed in terms of a set of motives of varying strength. What I told you, high need to achieve, moderate need for power, low affiliation motive. But I would like to debate on this point, low affiliation motive. But I'll generally say all the books which you are talking, affiliation motivation has to be there. The idea is the majority need to be achieved. At the same time, a leadership quality is required to influence, and that influence can come if fairly you are with affiliation motive, getting along with people. Never ever show an attitude of otherwise casual kind of thing when dealing with people. Then apart from, now coming to the point, apart from this motivational profile, there are other dimensions, huge dimensions are there, which I have not deliberately dealt. That takes one day altogether. Behavioral dimension, that which problem solving, creativity, and many more, influencing ability, seeking opportunity, and many things are there in building entrepreneurial motivation. Among these motives, the achievement motive acquires a strategic and important position. And for this reason, it is often motivated with entrepreneurial work, which is not quite close and not the same in the sense, though it is not directly impinging the other requirements like power motivation, affiliation motivation, and one more core extension motivation. These are all also required at the point of time. Now, when it comes to the environment, my dear, as I told you, there are only two actors, self and environment. So what is the environment we are talking about? Environment is the conducive environment or otherwise, which is there in the environment. Environment is globally you are looking at it. The political environment, economical environment, social environment, technological environment, legal environment. All these environments do play a tremendous role in what is called providing opportunities. This is what I said earlier. There is something called seeking mindset. Here I want to give you which I forgot to tell you. Yes, this is the right time. Listen to this very carefully, my dear students. Some wise man defined luck, L-U-C-K, as it is the meeting point of your mental alertness and opportunities passing by. What a wise definition is this. He defines luck as a meeting. Note it very carefully. He defines luck point of one's mental alertness and opportunities passing by. What a powerful definition, my dear friends. What a powerful way of looking at scanning the environment. Can I say that's where an idea falls? Can I say that's where an entrepreneurial thought forms? Can I say that's where you transform yourself into the position of an entrepreneurial dimension? Or that's where you get into an innovation dimension? Very loaded words are there. It's an intervention of your alertness. What is mental alertness? It captures the entire dimension of you as a human being in terms of your competence. And the entire competence, the antenna is so alert, it keeps watching this environment, political, economical, social, technological, legal. And that develops what is called pull factors. The conducive environment today, the Indian context is providing, is fantastic today. Look at organizations like micro, small, medium enterprises, the machinery there. Look at various organizations like NSBED, NIMSME, and your own organization, your university providing, I have not talked about incubation. That's a close pet subject for me. I'll talk about it at some other point of time, the incubation facilities. Look at the Development Commissioner, Ministry of SME, who have got the development, the district centers of Ministry of Micro, enterprise industries all over the country spread about supporting entrepreneurship. Then district industry in every district, in every corner of the industry department of the state. Then Niti Aayog looking at Atul Innovation Mission, Tinkering Labs. Look at Ministry of Science and Technology, which is talking about technological innovation facilities and technology business in the cable innovations and what have you for different sectors. Look at Ministry of Non-Conventional Energy. Look at several ministries. Look at various banks and NSIC providing infrastructural support as well as funding support. Look at SIDBI, which is providing money for setting up an enterprise. Look at small-scale infrastructure associations in every state, providing industrial estates everywhere. Look at various associations like FICCI, CII, PhD chambers of industry, and various numerous sector different orientations. GTZ, which is supporting in UN-based organization. My friends are there. They're all supporting how to develop small enterprises. What are the ideas that are available? Seeking opportunity by itself is a great aspect. What are the technological dimensions currently available? Which technological excellence? Just to give you an example, ITI industry, which was there in Amethi, they were making a dial telephone. They never bothered to look at the technological advance that are coming. That organization has to be closed because they never looked at the technological advancements of touch phone which are coming up. So they had to close it. Therefore, what essentially is, are you as an entrepreneurial dimension looking for technological? So no enterprise is made for just 1 or 2 years. It is made with a vision, mission, goal, objectives, targets for years to go, as NATCAP University is moving up in its. That's what vision is all about. That's what mission is all about. So all these situations are providing pull factors for you. This can be dealt for hours together. Push factors, generally, what are they? These push factors are generally someone who is not happy with the job, gets frustrated. Maybe he's fed up with the job. Maybe he's doing something which is looking for some reallocation. Maybe there are certain layoffs have taken place. He has to deliberately looking for something. Retirement. He gets bored with the routine job. There are a lot many things which is a factor that works on push factors, but that's a different issue. And push, to my mind, the entrepreneurially developed factors is important. That's how the point on entrepreneurs are made is essentially important. Now the question is entrepreneur. This is what I want to typically drive at in my presentation. Who is an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur? Anyone? Any takers? Who is an entrepreneur? Let me see the time. Oh, 11:08. Who is an entrepreneur? Yes, an entrepreneur is one who works for an organization. Let me repeat. An entrepreneur is one who works for an organization, but demonstrates qualities, characteristics, competencies as that of an entrepreneur. This word, you may not find it in dictionary. This was introduced in 1983, I think. But the point is, it is a very developing, prominent. People work on this concept because when I work for an organization, I work. Maybe the owner has taken a tremendous risk in terms of the funding, but I take a risk in terms of developing a new product for the organization, looking for a new ways of doing a job, because I carry innovation, creativity, good interpersonal relation, decision-making, risk-taking, confidence, competence, knowledge, skill, everything is there with me. And if I am a CEO of a private company, if I see one of my employee possessing the qualities of an entrepreneur, you know what the kind of I will give it him? I will ask him, please take over this chair and find out new product that has to be produced, new lines, look at the environment, scan the environment, study the competitors. How can I improve my product? How can I innovate my product? What is the new way in which I can add value? What is the marketing phenomenon I can do? What is the other kind? So everything I will give it him because he carries the qualities of creativity, innovation, looking for new things. There is a need for achievement. There is a sense of satisfaction he drives. I will use all this, otherwise he will run away from my organization. Is that concept? So therefore, would you like given the scenario of the present, I want you to be entrepreneur, whatever have you, but generate, deliberately develop the qualities of an entrepreneur, which through achievement motivation, and inject it in yourself, so that when you join an organization, you are several notches higher than the flock that is existing in that organization. And that's where you cut ties. That's the competency you develop. Sure, all of you have understood this. That's what. Now, can you therefore look at entrepreneurship as your occupation? This is the question I am posing it to you. Deliberate on that. Can you therefore emerge as entrepreneurs? There you said, look at entrepreneur. I said, emerge as entrepreneur. Both are reading. This is the way my training occurs. There I said, look at entrepreneur. Here, emerge as entrepreneur. You've got to emerge as an entrepreneur, irrespective of your becoming an entrepreneur, because you are going to set into the corporate world. Corporate world is very, very competitive. They will eat you raw. You have got to be possessing these qualities. You have got to be possessing these qualities, my dear friends. You have got to be possessing these qualities. How do we conduct our way of life? Let me summarize this. Do you want to conduct this way of life entrepreneurially or intrapreneurially? This is my question to all my students. Thanks for your kind attention, my dear friends. I saw. Right. I'm very close, Professor Millin's. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Well, thank you very much for the detailed and deep insight into the world of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, sir.
We are already past the time, but I can't let you go without asking a question myself.
No. Obviously.
So, so there is no doubt that this field of entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship is very, very important. My question is, from your experience, what should parents and teachers do differently to inculcate this kind of an attitude or a way of thinking, whichever way you want to put it?
I would, this is a very interesting question, because this matches with my book, which I am writing on early childhood education, where I am looking at right from the day the infant is born till 5 years, how do we change the child? But anyway, the point is, we look at the cognitive dimension, mental, social dimension, linguistic dimension, and what have you of the entire dimension of a child. So right from the early age, the child has to be allowed to create the environment should be such that he has to be allowed a lot of freedom to do his own activities, and allowing him to, he or she, to take responsibility simultaneously for the task he is taking up. For example, imagine a child, let me make it very, very clear. Imagine a child is interested in sports, deeply interested. If I am a parent, I would simultaneously allow that child into encourage sports, but at the same time, I will not lose sight of the other dimension the child has to work on. Imagine the child has an aptitude for a particular subject. So I will try and focus to encourage the child in those dimensions wherein it can move up. Because parents, you know, in the context of Indian, we need to look at the quality of our parents as well, the kind of parents we are looking at. So we are fairly assuming the parents carry the responsibility of the child in this manner. That's why I'm writing this book also, to transform the parents in the context of Indian education. So therefore, it is the perception of the individual parents which need to change, to look at the cognitive abilities right from the child age and focus on the strength of the child and keep moving into this dimension. I hope this is okay, Professor Millin.
So your message to parents would be to understand the children, nurture their
them,
gifts, talents, etc., but not intrude too.
Absolutely. That's always a point to be very. The moment the freedom is, that's why I said to give them freedom to the extent. That does not mean discipline is destroyed. No way. That's why the context matters. It's very well the context in which the child is always engaged with, the peer group in which engaged, the do's and don'ts. For example, the attitude itself is developed. If you see the psychological theory of Carl Jung, the iceberg theory, which I was telling. So the parents have to introduce certain belief systems, certain things in the child, and then parents will be developed much more. So we will have to have a session for parents as well.
Maybe the parents need to come back to the classroom, perhaps.
Yes, Professor Milind. Great. Thanks for asking this question.
So, sir, it is very evident of your that your passion in this field, from the extent of and depth of your talk, etc. And I'm sure our students have many positive takeaways from this. On behalf of North Cap University, I must thank you wholeheartedly.
Thank you. And thank you so much.
Dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the session and many takeaways from this. With that, we can close the session now.
I'm extremely sorry for extending the time, Professor Milind, but I couldn't stop my excitement.
Absolutely, no.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Professor Milind, and everyone who has given me the audience, and especially Avdesh ji and Mehra ji who caught me to deliver. Thank you so much. I am signing off with this. Thank you, sir.